Namaste everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Clarity and I want to share a little bit more about the serpent medicine or Kundalini Shakti or the serpent power today. I was inspired after a workshop that I led with Peter Akari, shamanic practitioner and sound therapist. So I did a bit more research around the serpent, and I gathered mostly all of the information that I had experienced over my many years of working with this energy and encountering it in different ways. First, I'd like to share my personal connections around the serpent. I am born on Bridget Day, according to paganism. February 2nd is the day of Bridget, goddess Bridget, and I just learned that she's connected to the serpent, so that makes sense. And originally that is Groundhog Day, but originally pagans would see if the serpents, not the groundhog, would come out of their den on this day to see if the winter was going to be long or shorter. I'm also a fire serpent in the Mayan astrology, so lots of connection to the serpent. My first real conscious connection to the serpent was during an ayahuasca ceremony, this beautiful plant medicine from South America, Peru. And I saw the spirit of ayahuasca as the serpent, and she very much moved me. She actually taught me some tantric yoga that I teach now, in the way she moved my spine, my body, and my neck for a very long time. And then these are movements that I found again naturally, that I channeled again and again in different ways, and I continue to have her energy of ayahuasca or Kundalini energy, serpent energy, move me and inform some of my teachings and a lot of my tantric yoga practice. I also use this energy in my healing session. I offer tantric healing sessions to women, and the serpents comes through very often in my movement and just the way that the energy flows, and I'll see serpents. I can also see if people carry this medicine themselves, and I very much channel the serpent when I dance as well. So all these very fluid like movements I find are so naturally for us, but I think especially for people, and there are many people out there who do connect to the serpent medicine. So we know the serpent or Kundalini to come from Hinduism and yoga and tantric cultures and myths, but the serpent was actually the most widely worshipped symbol in ancient history. So throughout the world we found so many cultures, and there's countless examples here that have worshipped the serpent. I have a few lists here. This comes from a book called Serpent Worship. It was written by an anonymous scholar in 1889, but there's a lot of other books that argue the same. The serpent is one of the most widely worshipped symbol on ancient cultures and shamanic and indigenous cultures around the world. So you find it in ancient Greece with the Pythia, who was the oracle in the temple of Apollo. So for me, working with a serpent, I very much, and being a priestess too, I open my body to be a vessel for this energy to come through, and I can see why the priestess was an oracle, because I think that is just the means to convey this energy, is to be a vessel, and that in that way carrying information, carrying healing energy as well. Ancient Egypt, we find a lot of symbols of the serpent in the ancient Mesoamerican cultures, Aryan culture, Sumerian culture, in India, of course, Africa. There's also the rainbow serpent in Aboriginal cultures in Australia, and I connect to the rainbow serpent a lot, and the rainbow medicine as well, so I definitely see them as connected. They're also called the Nagas in India and in Asia. We find them in the Buddhist culture, in China, in Korea, in Japan, in ancient Rome, and in the Celtic tradition, as I mentioned, with Brigid, etc., etc. We also see the serpent as the dragon, or as the feathered serpent with the Quetzalcoatl in ancient Mesoamerican cultures. So it's a symbol for transformation and an awakening. In shamanism, it's also seen as the energy of Mother Earth, as ayahuasca typically has the energy of Mother Earth, the spirit of Mother Earth, and is represented as a serpent. It's also connected to the direction of the south, and connected to the element of water, so the water being very cleansing, and the serpent also being cleansing, allowing us to release the old to make space for the new. So it has this aspect of renewal, regeneration, transformation, as the serpent shed its skin to build a new skin. So it's a symbol also for this a renewal of our consciousness. So although in Tantra in many cultures the serpent or Kundalini can be seen as connected to the divine feminine, it's always working in conjuncture with the divine masculine, which is Shiva, pure consciousness. So as the snake comes into our body, it allows us to connect to a higher state of consciousness, to gather information, to have more self-awareness, which is very important to understand this energy. It's not just an energy, it's very much related to, in a way, our state of mind or our perception. So that's why the serpent Kundalini is seen as a symbol for awakening, right? So we're awakening, and as it's moving through our chakras from the root all the way, it's hitting all of our chakras, and depending on where it sits, it can activate different state of consciousness all the way to the crown, where it connects us to our divine potential, for us to embody our divine self and to be very sensitive, very intuitive, very aware, but in a very grounded way as well, in an embodied way. So again, we see the symbol of spirit being more masculine, this intangible, pure consciousness, with the body or Mother Earth really coming together as one. And I wanted to share a few cards that I have here from this beautiful tantric oracle deck that I just got on Christmas from my partner. We see this symbol here for transformation connected to the rainbow energy. And I think this card is the card that I pulled, the very first card that I pulled from this deck. And then the second draw, I pulled it again. So you can see how connected I am to this symbol. And perhaps it's especially relevant to me in my life right now. I'm going through a lot of transformation. We have this card too, as the two intertwined symbol in Tantra, symbolizing the divine feminine, divine masculine, Ida and Pingala. The two combined in the Sushumna column, and connecting at the pineal gland to bring about this awakening. And then we have this card too, Serpent Power. And some people who had Kundalini rising very much describe this energy as pulsing electric pulses through their spine. And this was my experience. I had different experiences of Kundalini rising, but the most obvious one was in Goa. So first I went to Goa, India, because I had this message come through in one of my meditations, and there I took some shilajit, which is a supplement that is made from a tar-like substance only found in the Himalayan mountains. No, actually it's found in different mountains. I researched it recently, and someone told me that it's pure Shakti, so it's black, right? but again, it's pure Shakti, but actually it really increases our testosterone in our body. So I took Shilajit, and then that night my spine was going all night, just having these like pulses, electric pulses on my spine, and I couldn't sleep for hours. And then the week following, I was so aroused. It was incredible. I had never felt that before. And I think that that was in combination with the energy of the land, and also the fact that I was doing yoga every day, maybe twice a day when I was there. So there's different things that can really awaken our Kundalini. My first experience with Kundalini awakening was meeting someone in Toronto who was actually one of my soulmate, or I don't know if soulmate's the right word, but he was a person who was supposed to come with me in this lifetime to activate me in a certain way, and I did that for him, I'm sure. And we connected in this really intense way, and I could feel my heart open energetically in the way that I never felt before. And he had a Kundalini rising after having a very severe depression for a while, doing a lot of therapy. So again, this self-awareness, this introspection, and this reflection of ourselves can bring about also the snake energy, this Kundalini rising, just as the energy coming through us can bring us the self-reflection and this higher awareness of ourselves. They can come one before the other, or vice versa. And then he was doing yoga every day also for a couple months before this Kundalini rising happened to him. And he had also met this lady who had a Kundalini rising. And what happened to him, and I think this Kundalini rising or serpent power can manifest in so many different ways for everyone. So for him at this time, he woke up one morning and he had an extremely higher perception. So he just looked at reality and saw things so clearly. His mind was very quiet. He didn't really experience negative emotions for a very long time. So it was a sustained awakening for him. But as he realized that can go away. So we have this idea nowadays about Kundalini rising, just like the Buddha had this experience of an awakening and then he became the Buddha, and that's it. But there's actually, from my experience and many people that I heard that had Kundalini rising, this higher awareness can come, this energy can come in your body, but then you can go back into being more asleep, and it can come in waves, right? So it's not a one-time event. It's very much about the journey. And it can manifest again in many different ways. So sometimes depression can awaken your Kundalini, but your Kundalini can also awaken depression in you. I wrote down a few examples here of other ways that the Kundalini can come, or manifestation of this Kundalini rising in your body. So as I mentioned, yoga practice, so you can do a lot of yoga and then have a Kundalini rising, or you can have a Kundalini rising and feel compelled to start doing yoga and more meditation. Psychotherapy, the self-reflection, as I mentioned. An accident. I met someone once who had a car accident and her Kundalini rose. Certain substances, as I mentioned, so Shilajit, also plant medicines, also as I mentioned, ayahuasca. Other plant medicine, especially from the Amazon, because the Amazon forest very much has the snake energy, carry the Shakti Kundalini energy, and from my experience, also psychedelics that carry DMT. DMT for me is connected not only to the energy of Shakti, so we're not talking just about an energy, we're really talking about a deity in a way, and that goddess came to me once after taking DMT, and she's the same goddess that I saw also in my ayahuasca ceremony and with other experiences that I had also without psychedelics. So there's really this being, this goddess. She can be seen as the goddess of creation, the goddess as Mother Earth, etc. Other experiences that can bring about a Kundalini experience is lovemaking, tantric practices, connection to a soulmate, energetic orgasm, full body orgasm, heart chakra orgasm, orgasm without even any touch, because this Shakti Kundalini energy is blissful, ecstatic energy, and you can have this kind of orgasm without it being connected to your sexual practice. It can come about in a yoga practice or a connection to the land. So there's different spaces that can awaken your Kundalini as well, just like I had this experience in Goa. So there's different energetic spots. So for example, the Himalayan mountains, some people say that there was a Kundalini rising in the Himalayan mountains. I think it's Druvilo Melchizedek who says that. And so that's why so many religions started there: Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and yoga, etc. So and tantric cultures, they all kind of started there because there was this Kundalini rising that came with greater awareness of the universe and certain practices, right? So these things really work together. It's not just a somatic experience, but it is as well. Other experiences or practices that can come bring about this Kundalini rising is the connection to different lineage of gurus, of ascended masters, and especially from my experience, Babaji, who is said to be an embodiment of Shiva, and he started a tantric lineage. So from Babaji, I connect to Neem Karoli Baba, also Ram Das's guru is Neem Karoli Baba, also known as Maharaji. And I connect also to one of his disciple, Guru Ma Jayasati Bhagavati, who founded the ashram in Florida, where I just spent a whole month, and I had a very powerful experiences. And they teach a form of tantric Kundalini yoga there called Kalinata Yoga. So I'm really, really happy to be connected to this lineage. And in her ashram, she has serpents everywhere. She was an artist as well. So yeah, very much connected to the serpent energy on her land, in the ashram, and also in the practices and in her paintings. So different visuals, different yantras, different colors, different sounds can awaken your Kundalini. Learning about certain concepts can also awaken your Kundalini. Any concepts that heighten your perception or expand your perception of the world or your understanding of yourself, the universe, reality, etc. I was studying philosophy at U of T, and before that Capilano University, and I would have these real awakenings after certain of my classes, learning about different concept and epistemology, the nature of reality. It was really, really profound how these things really worked together, this consciousness, learning, and this energy in our body, this experience that we can have. Different teachers can awaken that in you. So if you meet someone who had a Kundalini rising, maybe as a teacher, as a yoga teacher, as a mentor, their presence can awaken that in you too. And then certain thoughts can awaken your Kundalini. And I know all of this, especially since I had multiple Kundalini rising experience. When these things happen to me, I'll just have electric pulses up my spine. So the energy just wants to come in these different moments. I had another really strong Kundalini awakening last summer. The summer before, actually, summer 2018. I decided to work on my divine masculine, so I very much call in this Shiva energy, divine masculine presence within me through different sacred sexuality practices, tantric practices, meditations. And I manifested this beautiful being who came into my life, who's very advanced spiritually as well. He very much carries this Shiva energy. And when we connected, I had all these energetic orgasm, and since that moment, that Kundalini never stopped being active for me. So I very frequently had those pulses up my spines throughout the day, and that continues now, but it was even more so right after our encounter. And so what happened to me was that it brought a lot of change in my life, and I, in a way, because you go through so much transformation in yourself, your energetic field is different, than things in your life will manifest accordingly. So then I started to be intimate with my partner, who I knew as a friend before, and we started seeing each other, and with him I was able to continue this experience of Kundalini rising in our practice of sacred sexuality and our intimacy and just our soul connection. And his presence is very much Shiva as well, pure awareness, pure presence, focus. So that was extremely powerful for me to continue this transformation that I had started a few months prior. So I hope that's helpful to describe a little bit how Kundalini can come in your life, what it is, and let me see if there's other things that I wanted to mention. So Kundalini is creative energy. So once this happens, when you let go of the old, maybe by letting go of certain people, certain situations, certain places, you're going to manifest new things in your life. And that can be creative projects, it can be new kinds of relationships, it can be more vitality on the physical level, more libido. It can be also on an energetic level, clearing some of your chakras or bringing about healing to some situation, to some person, especially if you're working with this energy consciously and directing it in a certain way. And you can just manifest so much, pretty much anything when you're really aware of this energy. You can consciously direct this energy to manifest certain things in your life. We know this through sex magic, when we have an orgasm, which is again Shakti energy, this blissful energy that connects us to the cosmos and pretty much an experience of God and everything, the universe. In this moment, we can pretty much reprogram our energetic field to anchor certain realities in ourself, and I usually ask for peace, ask for joy, ask for healing, of my heart, or different things that are more neutral. But if you want to manifest more abundance, you can also call in more abundance in your life, and it will always manifest in a way that that is meant to be, that you don't know, that you can't control. So just let the universe decide how that's going to take place, and try not to be too specific with the way that you're trying to manifest certain things using this energy. That's my recommendation. I think that's about it. I hope it's helpful to understand Kundalini as really a process and not just a transcendental experience. I think we have this tendency in our culture to be more masculine oriented. So masculine would be goal oriented and transcendental. So I think that's what we think about when we think of Kundalini. We think of the Buddha having this experience and being enlightened, and then being an ascended master. So it's almost like we're transcending death, right? As the feminine path is really asking us to be in our life, to be with the pain, to be with the process, to go with the waves of awakening and going back to sleep, and to be able to withstand both light and darkness. And this is very much what the Buddha did too. Before he was enlightened, what happened to him is that he was tested by the demon Mara, who showed him all of his shadow, and he needed to witness them. But the very last instance, just before his awakening, he was again tested with the biggest challenge that he was ever going to face, and his response to this darkness was to touch the earth and receive in this way the blessing of the earth, to be able to bring about this higher consciousness through his body. So again, we have this embodiment piece, we have this connection to Mother Earth, to our humanness, to be able to embody this higher consciousness, this state of enlightenment. So don't think that you can bypass all of these things that are bothering you in this life, all these challenges. These are part of your spiritual awakening. And the more you go into them, through them, with consciousness, awareness, compassion, and patience, the more you'll bring about more awareness, more light into your life as well. I want to end with a concept by John Lash, who's a Tantrika, a Gnostic scholar that I've been following, who was introduced to me by Darren Austin Hall. And John Lash says that he developed this concept of planetary tantra, which is very much connecting to Mother Earth, to bring about this awakening in your body. So very much an embodied practice of spirituality. And he says that the fight that we're experiencing in this universe and this planet is not between light and shadow. They're actually very much one and the same. And that's very much my spirituality and my experience and in my many journeys and meditation, is to really understand that light and shadow is one and the same. Why is it that the serpent was seen as Satan? We had this huge separation in our consciousness from this idea in the Garden of Eden that the serpent was Satan, and that Eve, the feminine, made a sin by eating the apple of knowledge that brought about the truth. Actually, is that the good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, but the knowledge is that good and evil are actually one and the same. And it was a huge initiation to be able to understand that. And we can still have these experiences of awakening. So John Lash says that this is not the duality that is problematic on our planet. We don't have a demon and an angel fighting over us in the center. They actually both are teachers. They actually both are guides, and we need to be smart about them both and learn to use both energies, right, in our lives. The duality is actually between being biophilia, this concept of biophilia, love of life, because Shakti Kundalini is life. This is a process. This awakening is happening naturally, and it's especially happening now naturally on our collective level. So you can work consciously with this energy instead of trying to fight this flow. And when you're fighting this flow, this is the other side. He calls it biophobia, this fear of life. And he says that this fear of life is actually a virus in our consciousness right now. So I'll just leave you with that to reflect on. In what way are you resisting the flow of life, the flow of creation, the flow that wants to come through you and that urges you to let go of the old and to make space for the new, and to trust in the process of transformation and awakening that we are all experiencing right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm very, very blessed to be a vessel for all this information to flow through. I hope that you find some resonance with some of it or all of it. And gratitude to you for watching this video. Many, many blessings along your journey. Namaste.